Okay, we're in chapter 6, part 2. Yep, no, not chapter 6, chapter 5, part 2. The first part of making your marriage into a relationship that enhances growth is to accept this inherent feature of married life. Marriage, by its very nature, has the power of truth, the power to show you truth about who you are. People are appalled when they get sharp, far-reaching criticisms from their spouses. They immediately begin to think they married the wrong person. But you must realize that it isn't ultimately your spouse who is exposing the sinfulness of your heart. It's marriage itself. Marriage does not so much bring you into confrontation with your spouses, confront you with yourself. Marriage shows you a realistic, unflattering picture of who you are, and then takes you by the scruff of the neck and forces you to pay attention to it. This sounds discouraging, but it is really the road to liberation. Counselors will tell you the only flaws that can enslave you are the ones you are blind to. If you are in denial about some feature of your character, that feature will control you. But marriage blows the lid off. Turn the lights on, now there's hope. Finally you can begin dealing with the real you. Don't resist this power that marriage has. Give your spouse the right to talk to you about what is wrong with you. Paul talks about how Jesus washes and cleanses us of stains and blemishes. Give your spouse the right to do that. All his life, Rob had few friends. One reason for this was since childhood, Rob had a real problem putting himself in the shoes of others. He had little or no empathy, and often was surprised at people's negative reaction to his words or deeds. When he was in 4th grade, a school counselor told his parents that he thought Rob was a mild sociopath, someone who often trampled on the feelings of others because he couldn't sympathetically imagine what they were feeling. This character flaw had created problems for Rob for years, but he couldn't see it for what it was. Few of his acquaintances ripened into friendships, and in his first job, he regularly made missteps that infuriated both superiors and those reporting to him. He lost one job over it. Then he met Jessica, and by the second date, they both were deep into the love experience. She thought he was a brilliant conversationalist, and he was, and he loved the fact that she was an assertive kind of woman who didn't easily get her feelings hurt. Several times, his sense of humor strayed into the realm of hurtful and the insulting. This was a problem that he had all his life, but unlike so many others, Jessica just told him off and put him in his place. He liked that. Finally, a woman who wasn't shrinking violet. And so they married, but as the months went by, Rob's insensitive humor and semi-abusive remarks got worse. When we are in love, we are on our best behavior, but at home and with someone becoming more and more familiar, our natural instincts take over. We no longer catch ourselves. Soon, the full extent of Rob's character was there for Jessica to see in all its ugly detail. Jessica began to see how he spoke to other people, and most of them were not as resilient and thick-skinned as she was. She realized the kind of relational problem that he was going to have all his life. She became deeply disillusioned with him, and just a year after their wedding, she found herself fantasizing about being single again and free from him. When Rob realized the depth of her unhappiness, he became alarmed, and together they sought counseling from the pastor of their church. That began a long journey. After many weeks of meeting with their pastoral counselor, they had their first breakthrough. One evening, both Rob and Jessica began to see that she had been brought into Rob's life for this very purpose. She was a strong woman who was not fragile. She was exactly the person who could stand toe-to-toe with Rob and say, "That hurt me. I'm going to tell you exactly how it felt, until you learn what your words do to people. I'm not going to clam up on you and just withdraw. I'm going to attack you back. I'm going to be like Jesus has been with us, accepting us in love, but not allowing us to just destroy ourselves with sins." Rob had never had anyone love him like this. People had either just given up or withdrawn from him or simply attacked him. Here was someone who calmly, candidly described the devastating effect of his words. And most transforming of all was the fact that the person who had telling him about his hurtfulness was the person he loved the most in the world. The more Jessica loved him so nobly and well, the less he wanted to see her hurt. And so slowly but surely, Rob began to listen, learn, and change. Jessica herself came to see that she also had a need for radical change. I had a fiercely independent spirit that made it hard for me to depend on anyone. She said, if anyone let me down, I simply dropped them. I was completely impatient with them. When she saw the depths of Rob's problems, she wanted to flee as she always had, but her marriage vow wouldn't allow her to do that. For the first time in her life, she couldn't run from a damaged person. 3 years after their wedding, Rob's parents hardly recognized him. He was more thoughtful and empathetic than they had ever thought he could be. Jessica's parents noticed a gentle and graciousness towards weakness that they hadn't seen in her before. Marriage's power of truth had done its work. Someone better is your spouse. We see then that the power of truth that comes with marriage is a gift, but it truly is a hard gift to receive. When you are seeing some new flaws in your spouse, or if you are always being told what is wrong with you, it takes a toll on the feelings. We are like a ore right out of the mine. When you got married, you saw the gold in your spouse, but as time goes on, you see all the impurities. You see attitudes and personality traits and sinful habits that are going to be burned off as a dross in the light of God's glory over time. These flaws are not permanent, but they can loom large in your mind and create big problems that is hard to take. And yet, if two people learn to make the distinction between the dross and the gold, it can be a great help. Instead of saying, that's just the way he is, and I hate it, remember the part of him you hate isn't the real permanent him. In Romans 7:14-25, Paul speaks about this dynamic in himself. I do the very things I hate, and therefore it's not really doing. Okay, I'm gonna actually stop there and go back and read that again because my voice is tired, so read that in a little bit.